But he said within himself, this man, if he were a prophet, I could add another word there, if he was a real prophet, he would have known who and what manner of woman it is that touches him, for she is a sinner. Why would you let a sinner touch you? Oh, thank you, Jesus. Why would you let a sinner touch you? But thankfully let me touch him.
Amen.
In verse 40, and Jesus answering said unto him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he said, Master, say on. Oh, he's excited. Jesus is fixing to talk to me. He's going to tell me something. Is he ready to hear? Verse 41, there was a certain creditor which had two debtors, and one owed 500 pence and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him the most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he to whom he forgave the most. And Jesus said to him, you have rightly judged. And then he turned to the woman. And he said to Simon, now he's looking at the woman, but he's talking to Simon. Looking at the woman, but he's talking to Simon.
Yeah.
I got something to tell you, Simon.
Yeah.
Are you listening? So he turned to Simon. He turned to him and said, he turned to the woman and said, seest thou this woman? In verse 44. He said, I entered your house and you gave me no water for my feet. That was a custom. Your feet got dirty walking the road. But you gave me no water. But she has washed my feet with tears. I don't know how, maybe y'all don't cry like I do. Maybe I'm just the only one. But even as much as I cry, I can't imagine crying so much to wash somebody's feet. But when we think about where we were headed, when we think about the sin that we carried, when we think about the goodness of Jesus and what he's done for me, it brings tears to the eyes. And this woman, she knew who Jesus was. She didn't ask permission to come in the house. This wasn't her house. She didn't get permission. But she came on in anyway. But rather than disrupt everything, she got in behind Jesus like a servant. And without making any noise, she knelt down. You see, they didn't sit at tables like we do now. They kind of crouched on the floor. So if you can imagine kneeling down on your knees with your feet sticking out behind you. Jesus has knelt down here to eat, and this woman comes up behind him and begins to just cry. When I get in the presence of the Lord, a lot of times I just cry. To feel his presence and his touch, it stirs my soul. It breaks loose the chains of the world. It sets me free. And to know he's real.
Amen.
That it's not just a figment of my imagination. But this woman began to cry and weep, and she washed his feet with her tears. And not only that, but she wiped his feet with the hair of her head. She was a sinner. She was a known sinner. She was famous, if you will. How could she be famous as a sinner? Unless everybody knew what she did. How could she be famous if nobody knew who she was? Everybody knew who she was. She was famous. She must get her fame from the way she looked. Her hair a certain way. Her makeup a certain way. Her fragrance a certain way. She had to be appealing to the men as they came by. But here, rather than caring about how good her hair looked, she began to wipe his feet. His dirty feet that were now muddy with her tears. She began to wipe them off with the hair of her head. But she didn't stop there. He said, "You gave me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, has not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman has anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. For she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little." I don't know where you stand today. I don't know what your situation is, but let me tell you this. Judas complained that she had broken this box of ointment and used it on Jesus. That, this could have been sold for like 300 pence and given to the poor. We know from other scriptures that a pence was like a penny, was like a day's wages. Now think about, you go to work and you tell your boss, "I want next year's check, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to use it on Jesus." That's significant. I don't know about you. I would have to beg, borrow, and plead to live the next year. I don't have a year's worth of savings set aside. This woman took this year's worth of wages and just poured it on Jesus. In her tears. And it didn't buy her forgiveness. She said that the ointment didn't buy her anything. Her tears didn't buy her anything. Wiping his feet with her hair didn't buy her anything. The fact that she came in like a servant, it didn't buy her anything. You can't buy salvation.
Amen.
But the brokenness of her heart, the sadness in her soul over the sin that she had lived, and knowing that here sits the man that can forgive me. Here sits the man that can set me on a different path. The one that made the lame to walk, the blind to see, the one that brought Lazarus up out of the grave. I'm living in a dead life of sin, and it's killing me. And she's broken, and she's pouring her soul out. Even though they can't hear what she's saying, in her heart, I know she is begging for God to save her. And she washes his feet. Let's all stand.